right, good morning. We are talking about tomatoes here in this first week of July. And so it's A, exciting to have you here, but B, here are my tomatoes. They have been absolutely loving the hot, dry weather with the added moisture that we've been giving it. But they are super, super happy, you can see. So this is, just so everybody knows, this is the first year that I've done something called the Florida weave system for trellising my tomatoes. So I'm kind of figuring it out as we go, but it's working really, really well. We'll see how it goes through the season. But what it is one post here, and there's just twine going back and forth on the opposite sides of the post. And so with that, it holds the tomato into a flat space, so all the fruit will be really easily accessible when we get it. But also I have a small garden, so we don't do grow tomatoes for we don't grow tomatoes for canning. We don't grow tomatoes for those kinds of things. We grow tomatoes to eat like on burgers, to have as snacks, BLTs, those kinds of things. So we don't have a ton of tomatoes, and so these have grown like crazy over the course of the last week. So I just trimmed them up and pruned them a little bit last week. But what we want to do is a couple of different things. One is tomatoes need airflow. So tomatoes are susceptible to a lot of different types of diseases. So they need a lot of airflow through here. And so what this Florida weave system does is it allows it to have it's a compact, narrow area where these tomatoes are, but we need to be able to get airflow through here so they can dry out and don't get disease. So I've had the least amount of disease I've ever had on tomatoes so far this year. So when you are looking at your tomatoes, you want to do a couple things. One is check for any leaves that aren't doing well. So see if there's anything that is yellow or starting to show spots, that kind of stuff. So look for those. If you don't see anything like that, just leave them, you're good. Second thing is you want to make sure that there's airflow. So you want to go through and see it's really dense through here right now and how it's been growing up here in this area. So you want to kind of cut that back a little bit so that there's a little more airflow through things. And then third, you want to control the growth. So I have all what are called indeterminate tomatoes. And so indeterminate is the growth pattern. So it means that they will keep growing and keep growing and keep fruiting and that kind of thing. There are other types of tomatoes called determinate tomatoes, which are, they grow to a certain point, they fruit, and then they die. So they come, they eat, they leave. They grow, they fruit, they die. And so they go through that stage. But mine are all indeterminate tomatoes, which means that they will all continue to grow. And so I want to control that growth and keep it so it doesn't just go everywhere. Because last year, this back corner where I had tomatoes last year, they just grew like crazy and were flopping all over the place, and I just didn't keep them pruned up enough so that they were more controlled, and then we could have more fruit out of things. So as we look closer on these tomatoes, I want to have a couple different areas of growth. So this is one tomato growing down here, and it's got this one main shoot coming up this direction. It's got another main branch coming up this direction, and then it's got a third one coming off to the left. So I want to kind of keep that growth pattern intact there. So we've got that tomato, got another tomato that's growing from the back there. And then if you've been following along for a while, this third tomato back here was one that I started from seed that really wasn't doing well, but it popped up and came through. It was highly unexpected. But then this tomato plant has 3 main branches going up as well. And so what you can see happening right here is that this is a leaf. Oh, there we go, focus correctly. So this is a leaf coming up here. This is our main branch coming up here. And then we've got this little dude right here. That's a sucker on tomatoes. So it's growing up in the leaf node. We are going to cut that one off. You can just pinch it off, whatever you want. Everything is good. So we're gonna cut those guys off. You can see there's another one coming up right here. So we're gonna get rid of that, because that will have a ton of extra growth that I just don't want and I don't have space for. So I go through and I clean up things that are like that to improve airflow, and so that the growth is more focused, so we just don't have a ton of fruit but have really good solid fruit. So I'm going to go through and clean these up now. So you can see hopefully on the video, I'm not sure how well it's going to show up, we cleaned out a bunch through the center of the plant, and also through down here, so that these are really good chlorophyll leaves that are producing a lot, that are catching a lot of sunlight for the growth of the tomatoes. So that's good. We've got a bunch of flowers coming, so a lot of things coming through there, so that is all really good. I try to always minimize the amount that I cut off that actually has flowers on it, just because it always makes me feel sad. But we are where we are with those. And the other thing is, each of these tomatoes will root for you. So if you have a spot where you want to have another tomato growing, you can just take this dude, dig a hole, plop it in. Probably I would, if I were doing it, I would pull this off and then plant it up to right there. So all of this will, it's gonna probably not show up great on the video, but all of these little hairs that you can see on here will become roots. And so that will grab water, and they will all keep rolling for you. So if you want more tomato plants, that's a great way to do it. And these are a genetic match for what you plucked it off of over here. So again, the things to think about as you are pruning your tomatoes. I'm using, again, the Florida weave method. There's twine on either side here of the tomatoes, and so they grow vertically in between. I learned this at the Minnesota Arboretum last year. You want to prune for airflow, so that you are making sure that you're getting these plants dry off and they're getting not exposed to disease and staying wet that way. And then you want to prune suckers off so that you are keeping the growth contained to where you want it. So that is pruning up tomatoes. You also, if you want, there are a lot of different ways that you can trellis tomatoes. So tomatoes can grow on a single post, so you can just put them straight up, just keep to one continuous shoot, so don't let any suckers grow, and just keep that going, so that plant will grow up and up and up. So you can grow on a pole that way, or on a piece of twine that's strung vertically. You can also grow on cattle panels. So if you just set a cattle panel, you can just attach it to cattle panels. So there's a lot of really great ways to grow tomatoes, and I would love for you to use the comments. Show me pictures of your tomatoes. Show me where they're at if you're having any problems. As well, with that, show me how you are growing yours and what issues you're running into and what successes you're finding, so that everybody can learn from everybody else. So use the comment section. Please post pictures of your tomatoes, and have a wonderful day.